So, out of nowhere, something strange dropped on LM Arena. A model named RiftRunner appeared with zero explanation from Google. No posts, no previews, not even a quiet mention in a development log. It looked less like a proper release and more like an internal experiment that slipped into public view by accident. For a moment, people thought it might be a glitch, but as soon as testers clicked in and saw how the model behaved, confusion quickly turned into curiosity. Everyone began trying to understand exactly what they were looking at. From the very first screenshots shared on X, many testers felt an immediate sense of familiarity, the style of reasoning, the structure of the outputs, even the shape of the API signature logs, all strongly resembled earlier Google internal checkpoints such as Lithium Flow and Orion Mist. These were early Gemini 3 builds that had leaked in similarly accidental ways, and RiftRunner seemed to follow the exact same pattern. The behaviors were similar enough that multiple developers assumed this had to be part of the Gemini 3 family, even before any kind of confirmation existed. The earliest wave of attention came from the vision benchmarks. One tester posted a clip of RiftRunner reading a handwritten doctor's prescription that was messy and extremely difficult to interpret. Several major models, including GPT-5 and various thinking-enabled variants, have struggled with this kind of poor handwriting. RiftRunner handled it with surprising accuracy on its very first attempt. Another tester said its vision capability felt on the level of soda, which is a reference point used for very high-performance multimodal models. That one comment triggered a wave of speculation, because models that can read badly scanned documents, heavy noise, tiny text, and structurally complex image details are usually not lightweight Flash-style models. Flash models are optimized for raw speed, not deep multimodal analysis, so the community quickly assumed RiftRunner belonged to a different category altogether. But soon after, more conservative testers pushed back. Some physics questions still produced inaccuracies in areas where GPT-5 thinking performs extremely well. There were also limitations in coding. RiftRunner refused to generate multi-file outputs even when explicitly asked. For example, if a user requested 10 separate React components, each in its own file, RiftRunner would cut off the response and display a warning that it could only provide a single message. This type of restriction is very common in sandboxed internal builds used for evaluation inside companies. It allows developers to test reasoning quality, safety behavior, and consistency without letting the model generate extremely long or multi-structured outputs that could create unexpected risks. Because of this, many hobbyists concluded that RiftRunner was likely an internal release candidate. Not Flash, not Pro, but the stage just before a major Gemini update. The naming pattern supported the theory. In the past, models like Lithium Flow and Orion Mist appeared weeks before official announcements. RiftRunner matched that style exactly and arrived in the same quiet, accidental fashion. Fuel was added to the speculation by Google's total silence. No blog posts, no AI Studio updates, no model card, no public comment whatsoever. Whenever Google goes silent during a mysterious appearance like this, the community traditionally assumes the leak is real and part of an upcoming launch cycle. However, confusion increased when some users suggested the model felt more like something Anthropic might develop. They pointed out stylistic quirks in its long-form responses that resembled Claude. Others insisted this was almost certainly Gemini 3 Pro because it improved on tasks that earlier Google checkpoints struggled with. One tester made an especially interesting claim. Only RiftRunner and the latest thinking-enabled version of the Kimi model were able to solve his specific math problem GPT-5 could not. Observations like that made the situation even more confusing because they suggested RiftRunner possessed abilities not seen in older Gemini builds. A short clip also circulated showing RiftRunner generating full 3.js code for an Earth simulation. The output included multiple textures, normal maps, specular maps, cloud layers, an atmosphere shader, and a star field, all rendered using ASUS filmic tone mapping. At first, people reacted with disbelief, but experienced developers pointed out that many 3.js Earth simulations follow well-known templates and rely on popular open-source texture sets. High-end models like Claude, DeepSeek, and Gemini already understand these patterns, so while the demo was impressive, it wasn't proof of a new intelligence level. It did, however, demonstrate that RiftRunner could produce long, detailed, single-file code with respectable structure. While all this was happening, ByteDance suddenly dropped a model that immediately grabbed attention in the programming community. Their new model, Doubao Seed Code, launched with bold claims, and the most shocking part was the price. The model launched on Volcano Engine for only 9.9 yuan, which is extraordinary extraordinarily low compared to other advanced coding models. The base API pricing was so cheap that users started calling it the cheapest serious programming model in the world. ByteDance claimed the model wasn't just fast, but deeply integrated with their development environment. This allowed it to handle extremely complex workflows and reach the top of the SWE-Verified leaderboard, one of the hardest benchmarks for automated reasoning in software engineering. Another major advantage was its native compatibility with the Anthropic API. Developers who had built entire coding workflows around Claude could switch to Doubao Seed Code with almost no adjustments. ByteDance demonstrated the model on a wide range of tasks: particle animations, game-style interactions, large-scale refactoring, module reorganization, bug detection, and modernization of old codebases. In its biggest demo, the model built a complete tour website for the Palace Museum, including descriptions, layout, design, and AI-generated audio guides. The site worked with no major issues. This reinforced the idea that ByteDance has become a legitimate competitor in the coding AI world. On the OpenAI side, the narrative shifted in a different direction. The company released GPT-5.1, but the announcement felt noticeably different from previous releases. There were no flashy graphs, no claims of dramatic leaps in intelligence. Instead, OpenAI said something unusual. Users wanted an AI that wasn't just smart, but pleasant to talk to. That became the theme of the entire update. GPT-5.1 introduced 8 preset conversational styles and a much more natural, human-like tone. Paid users began receiving the update on November 12th, with free users receiving it later. Enterprise and education customers were given an early switch window. GPT 5.1 Instant became the default model, gaining a warmer tone, better instruction following, and adaptive reasoning. It can now decide when to think deeply and when to respond faster depending on the prompt. It also performed better on academic benchmarks like the AME 2025 math test and competitive coding evaluations. GPT 5.1. Thinking, the deeper reasoning version, allocates its thinking time more intelligently, spending longer on complex problems and less on easy ones. Both versions gained clearer language, fewer undefined terms, and better consistency across personality settings. The update introduced new official personalities such as professional, candid, and quirky. A beta feature allows users to fine-tune tone and style, adjusting enthusiasm, readability, directness, and even emoji frequency. ChatGPT can now detect a user's preferred style and ask whether it should be saved permanently. OpenAI described this shift as an attempt to blend intelligence with emotional understanding. On the safety side, OpenAI added improved assessments for mental health related cues such as isolation or mania, as well as safeguards against emotional dependency. OpenAI noted that GPT 5.1 Instant improved in jailbreak resistance, while GPT 5.1 Thinking had slight regressions in harassment and hate speech evaluations. Instant also regressed slightly in emotional reliance tests. They acknowledged these problems publicly and promised improvements. The last major development came from Black Forest Labs. Their next generation image model, Flux 2 Pro, moved from alpha and beta into internal preview. While not publicly released, traces inside their playground confirm support for flexible resolutions up to 1440 by 1140. Similar to the original Flux, the Pro label suggests the first release will be aimed at commercial clients and API users rather than the general public. The original Flux became popular by matching Midjourney level output, so expectations for Flux 2 are extremely high. Black Forest Labs also hinted at more frequent updates, suggesting the model might be approaching launch. This leaves the AI ecosystem in a moment where multiple companies are releasing major updates at the exact same time. Google appears to be testing an internal Gemini-related model that accidentally leaked into public view. ByteDance pushed aggressively into programming with a highly competitive coding model. OpenAI shifted toward natural conversational experience with GPT 5.1, and Black Forest Labs moved closer to their next high-end image generation system. All of this unfolded simultaneously, creating a tense, unpredictable moment where each new release seems to provoke a response from a competing company. If you enjoy deep breakdowns like this and want more updates on hidden model releases and AI leaks, make sure to like and subscribe to Evolving AI so you don't miss the next one.